this model wearing curlers on the runway? And what does it have to do with Black history? Why is Whoopi Goldberg wearing a shirt on her head? And what does it have to do with Black identity? And why is Jaden Smith carrying his severed locks on the red carpet? And what does it have to do with Black culture? It's all in the book. Get your copy of AfroCentric Style, a celebration of Blackness and identity in pop culture. From author and Emmy Award-winning writer-producer Shirley Neal. Available where books are sold.
Hello and welcome to American Stories. I'm Saida Pagan. Our guest today is Shirley Neal. She is an award-winning author, screenwriter, and producer. She has worked for KTTV in Los Angeles, Fox Television, the Africa Channel, and has even owned her own production company. Well, Shirley has just released her latest book. It's titled AfroCentric Style, and she joins us now to talk about her amazing contribution, not only to Black culture, but American culture. Welcome, Shirley.
Thank you. Good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yes. Now, the subtitle of your book is A Celebration of Blackness and Identity in Pop Culture. So, what will readers find out about? What will they see in this book?
Well, the subtitle really tells a lot. They will see hundreds of photographs, probably about close to 200 photos, full color, black and white, where I feature uh, images that have been trending on social media that they may have seen before and just thought they were interesting pictures or pretty pictures, but never really knew the stories behind them, the backstories behind them, or their connection to Black culture or Black history. And they'll also see some iconic photos that they may have seen uh, for years and never thought twice about what their links are to pop culture and to our Black identity. So I think there's a lot there to celebrate, a lot to learn, and a lot to make readers say, "Wow, I didn't know that," or that's interesting, or I forgot about that, but this is a good trigger for me. So there's a lot there.
So, how far back in history do you go?
Well, I connect some of today's pop culture moments back to the slave trade. So I guess you could say in the 1800s, I go back that far. I talk about some of the hairstyles that we wear today that actually started back in during the slave trade. And actually, I go back even further than that. I talk about our fashions that go back that far and how they're related today, and how we've adopted some of the looks from our African ancestors that we don't know about or that we forgot about. So I think we can go probably into the early 1800s. I go back.
Would it be safe to say then that African Americans or Africans in general are kind of like trendsetters as far as style? I mean, would that be safe to say, or what conclusions have you come to in your book?
It's absolutely fair to say that, and not just in the US, but globally. One of the things that we see when we look at pop culture, and I don't want the title Afrocentric style to be misleading. It's not just about fashion, it's about hair and beauty, and it's about our culture in general. And Black culture is pop culture. It is American culture. It is world culture. So yeah, I think you'll see that Black Americans and Africans have been at the root of a lot of our hair, beauty, fashion styles, and our identity as a people.
As you did your research, how did that happen? I know I've seen old movies like from the 30s and 40s, and in some of them, I mean, people are quite stylish and seem to be trendsetters even in those times. So, how did that evolve? Say, for example, after the end of slavery in the United States. How did that evolve? Because when you see these pictures of individuals, maybe in those times, they didn't have the ability to perhaps be as stylish as anyone could be today. There was not the level of equality. So how it seemed like very quickly they became trendsetters, the African
Hmm.
American community. I don't know if you've thought about that, but that's what I
Yeah.
noticed.
Yeah, I don't know that I cover that to that extent, but I will say that we have been trendsetters for generations. Even when we look at, and one of the things that I love is that the Met Gala this year, they're going to be covering dandyism as their theme. And that really looks back to a style of dress that we were wearing back into the 20s and the 30s, and it's popular today. And so much that we've seen today's fashions, we can go back to, they really were setting trends back in the 20s and the 30s. So we didn't really call it trend setting, I don't think, when when we were wearing the baggy pants and the zoot suits and whatnot, and the kente cloths as robes. But I think they became more trendy when social media started came on the scene, and we started seeing celebrities wearing them and designers using them. And I think social media really plays a big role in setting these trends that were styles that we've been wearing for forever. We just started calling them trends when social media came on the scene.
Now, there are so many themes. There are so many themes that you can focus in on when you're talking about Black culture. Why pop culture? What was intriguing to you?
Well, pop culture is something that attracts everyone. And I wanted this book to attract a wide audience. Publishers will always tell you, narrow down who your demographic is when you're writing a book. Your book cannot appeal to everybody. Well, this one does. And my publisher is the first to say, yeah, and this one does. And it's because it's pop culture. I mean, that is an area, it's fashion, it's music, it's TV, it's entertainment, it's what's trending. And that is something that appeals to every age group. And I've had people who have read the book, who have given me feedback, who are in their 80s, who have stories to tell about these pop culture moments that I highlight, to an 8-year-old girl who has an incredible story of how it changed her life just reading about pop culture, and how it she can associate it to Black identity. So it really does reach a wide audience, and I think that's just the nature of pop culture. And I want it to be able to reach a wide audience, and not just an age group, but racially. I wanted, when I have signings and book events, I'm attracting Black audiences, white audiences, kids, seniors. I want everybody to really be engaged in this, and it's pop culture that draws them in.
You just mentioned an 80-year-old woman or a woman in her 80s, and I'm sure she's notable, but are there other perhaps well-known individuals, or who did you interview to get this information?
Well, I didn't do a lot of interviews per se just for this book. One of the things that I do is I weave a lot of my stories throughout the narrative in the book. And so throughout the book, I'll mention people I've interviewed in the past. I may mention Cicely Tyson and advice I got from her. I may mention Maya Angelou. I'll mention Oprah Winfrey. These are through conversations or interviews or interactions I've had with them over my career, but I didn't interview them per se just for the book. The book was really a lot of research that I did because of my passion for Black history and Black culture and pop culture. And also it's my kind of my story that I wanted to weave in, because I've covered so many um, uh, through my journalism efforts, I covered so many celebrities and notables through interviews that I just wanted to plug that in, but nothing was really just for this book.
That's very interesting. So, did you go back and listen to the recordings that you might have done? How, that's what we should do as
Yeah,
journalists
yeah,
because it may
that's
come up later.
exactly. And, I keep transcripts of just about everything. So it's a wealth of information that I hang on to. Some of it was just, I used author license. I tried to recall conversations with Arthur Ashe. He was as someone that hosted a TV series that I produced. I talk about conversations that he and I had that are relevant in the book. So, no, I didn't have a transcript for that. But I recalled so I have the sentiment of what he said and what our conversation was. So I do that often. But for detail, if I talk about Nichelle Nichols, if I talk about Oprah Winfrey, generally that came from a transcript from an interview that I had. And like I say, I save everything.
That is so amazing. Now, let's talk about your career. It's been amazing, really. Tell us about you started out the last time I remember that we actually spent a lot of time talking was when we both worked at KTTV many decades ago. So I believe you were a young publicist, or tell me what you did at KTTV.
Yeah, when I first got to KTTV, I was working in the promotions department. So I was writing TV guide listings and assisting with writing promos until I kind of worked my way up the ladder and became a senior creative director. But my passion was always producing and writing. Never really felt like I had director in my veins, but I always wanted to produce and write. And so I started pitching programs Black History Month. There was always a void for Black History Month, not even just for our local station, but for the sister stations. So I started pitching ideas that I had. Let me do the Black History Month specials for Black History Month and let's distribute them to all of our stations. And it started that way first when we were Metro Media, then when we became Fox, all of the Fox stations. So that's really kind of where I cut my teeth in producing and writing. And I had great opportunities to do that. And I worked with Dodger Baseball for many years, producing a lot of their pre-shows and whatnot. So I cut my teeth there in local TV. And I went from there to once I got the producing and writing bug in me, I just took off. And I started working with other production companies, running their TV divisions. And I worked with NAPI, the National Association of Television Program Executives, and started really producing live events for them. They didn't want to just have general sessions for their conventions. They wanted to put on big stage shows. So I started working with Blue Man Group and Cirque du Soleil and other major companies to be able to stage live TV. And from there, I started working with the TV Academy, producing the regional Emmy Awards. Again, still interested in live television. And I earned my first Emmy Award by producing a live event, the US Olympic Fest for Fox TV. So I was really interested in doing live production, but that didn't give me an opportunity to write. And writing was really my ultimate passion. I knew that by the time I retired, that's all I really wanted to do was write. If I'm too tired to produce, I can always write. And
You have
so
had a fabulous career, really. Relatively speaking, you have done a lot.
I've been blessed, very blessed with the opportunity. Absolutely.
So, let's talk a little bit about your ghostwriting. Now, you mentioned that's all you really wanted to do was write, and according to your bio, you've done quite a bit of that ghostwriting.
I have. I knew that I wanted to author my own books. Ultimately, I thought that's something I can do at any age, in any location, wherever I am. But to get a handle on it, I didn't want to slowly move into authoring my own books. So I was attending an event where I heard about ghostwriting. And so I thought, that's a good way to get into it. I already knew how to write, but I knew very little about the publishing industry. And so I attended Cal State Long Beach, and they had the first and I think still only um, uh, accreditation for being a ghostwriter, professional ghostwriter. And of course, you don't have to be certified to be a ghostwriter, but I wanted to kind of leap over everyone. I wanted to learn everything I could about the publishing industry. I wanted to learn everything I could about writing for other people in their voice and what it takes to get an agent and how to get a book published. So through that, I was able to work with a number of notable authors who were actually good writers. They just didn't have time to write books. So I specialized mostly in memoirs, and I wrote memoirs for some very notable people. But after a while, I decided I want my name on these books. It's this is good and it's good money, but now I need, and I got an agent, and my agent said, Shirley, if you're going to ghostwrite, you really need to now collaborate, start getting your name on books, but more importantly, let's get your books out there. So I kind of put true ghostwriting off to the side, and now I'm collaborating and writing my own books so that I can get my name out there.
I took a look at your website and I was very impressed with your electronic press kit. You, of course, have a lot of experience as a publicist and doing promos and all of that. Tell me how you decided, or did someone design it for you? How did you go about it for your book?
Well, so I have two websites. I have shirleyneal.com, which is my personal, my professional site, and then I have AfroCentricStyle.net, which is the book. My agent has a social media guru who said to me that and I designed them both, said to me, on your personal site, you need to promote your book. First thing you see, your book. Continue to promote your book. And I said, well, I have a website for my book. And he's like, why do you don't need a website for your book. You just need your own website. That's a waste of time. And I said, no, I don't believe it is. Coming from my promo background, I didn't want to put everything about my book on my professional site because I do more than write. I'm still producing. And so but what I do is I also created one that's strictly for the book. I can put more on there. And for people who are interested in the book as much as they are Shirley Neal, I send them to that. They can get the media kit. They can get all the information they need. They can get photos, they can see the galley, they can see press, they can see my bio, they can see everything that's related to the book. They may not care about my producing. It's important to really give the book the attention it needs and not cloud it with my other stuff going on. But of course, in my personal slash professional website, I'm always kind of tossing it back to having links that send you to the book's website. But I did design it myself because I want to be able to update it on a regular basis. And I didn't want to have to rely on someone to do that for me.
So tell us what should be in an electronic press kit and why, and of course we'll talk about why it's important to have these particular features.
For a book, I believe it's important to give any interested party all the information they would ask you for. They always want to see the book cover. They want to see a photo of the author. They want a synopsis. They want a synopsis that's a short one. They want a long one. They want a bio of the author that's short and one that's long because you don't know how they're going to use it. And for photos, if possible, give them more than one, or update it. What I tend to do, because I don't want to see the same photo in all my press. So what I'll do is I'll place a photo, and these are links. There is a link on my book's website that says Media Kit, and you can go and select photo. And what I'll do is every so many months, I'll update that photo so that we're not seeing the same photo all the time. Um, I love it when people say, I want to feature you for a book signing. I want you to do an event. Can you send me and they start listing all these things they want. And I say, here's a link. Go to my website. Go to afrocentricstyle.net/media kit. It's all there. If you need something else, I'm happy to give it to you. Everyone's thrilled because it is all there. What I will do sometimes if I want a particular venue or a sponsor to have a little more, I'll send them there and I'll give them an extra photo or I'll give them something extra. But for the most part, it is so simple for anyone to be able to access.
I understand from your page, from your webpage, that Afrocentric Style is just the beginning. You have another book in the works. Would you like to tell us about that one?
Yeah, I have a couple in the books, in the works. I'm working on a novel. But I haven't had a chance to get as far with it as I'd like, because the book tour for this and all the work that it takes to market this book is taking up a lot of my time. But I do have a novel that I hope to be able to get to publish sometime next year. Well, of course, I have to finish it this year. But also, while I've been working on this book, I've been getting good feedback from individuals. And there's a young lady, a young girl who's only 8 or 9 years old, who's given me just some incredible feedback of how this book has changed her life. She's like 8 or 9. And because of her story, it's led me to want to write a children's book for young adults, for teens, for kids. And I've always had these ideas in my head, but this little girl prompted me to want to kind of put my novel off to the side just for a minute. And so now I'm working on this book that should really reach middle school, excuse me, middle grade kids. And I think once I finish that, then I'll get back to my novel.
So yeah, so there are two more books at least
Yes.
coming our way. Well, Shirley, you have done obviously a great job. I've seen the reviews. You've gotten lots of press and it's all very positive. And tell us one last thing about the NAACP Image Award.
So I was nominated this year for Outstanding Literary Work by a Debut Author. And I'm very excited about that because, again, since I was a ghostwriter, spending so much time, so many years, the last 8 years writing for other people, this is an important award for me. It's my third nomination for an NAACP Image Award. I was nominated 2 other times for my TV production efforts. So to get this as a debut author when I've been writing for so many other people has just been great for me. It's just been a thrill.
Well, thank you for doing all the research, for making this possible for us to enjoy. And I wish you the very, very best in your writing endeavors.
Thank you so much. And again, thank you for having me.
And thank you for joining us for this edition of American Stories. I'm Saida Pagan.
Why is this model wearing curlers on the runway? And what does it have to do with Black history? Why is Whoopi Goldberg wearing a shirt on her head? And what does it have to do with Black identity? And why is Jaden Smith carrying his severed locks on the red carpet? And what does it have to do with Black culture? It's all in the book. Get your copy of AfroCentric Style, a celebration of Blackness and identity in pop culture. From author and Emmy Award-winning writer-producer Shirley Neal. Available where books are sold.